Hopefully by now everyone has edited and completed their bitmapped image that they're going to use for this project. Um, what you want to do is open up your bitmap image, and there's a few things that you're going to do before you start to add the color layers. Uh, what you want to do is go to image mode, and then convert your image to grayscale. And then you're going to go to image mode again, and you're going to convert that grayscale back to color. And what you're going to use is RGB color. That will allow you to add colors on top of this image. Whereas if we were screen printing, you would be doing the colors down, laying the colors down first, and then putting this bitmapped or halftone image on top of it using black. So after we convert this back to RGB color, we're going to create our layers. This project, you're only using 3 colors. No more than 3 colors. You're actually using 3 colors plus the black, which is the key plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the little box here and select a new layer. Now I'm using blue, green, and tan. So I'm going to create a layer for each one of those colors. Click on the box again, click new layer, and then I'm going to title this green. And then finally, I'm going to create the final layer, which is going to be brown. And click OK. Now, I'm going to work on the blue layer first, so I want to make sure that I can click on blue. Now, once I click on blue, I can go to the color picker here and select blue. So I'm going to go in the blue range, and I want my sky fairly light. Let's just say I'm happy with this color. Now there's several different things that you can use to create your layers. You can use selection tool, quick selection tool. That fills a large area. If there's a white area or a lighter area against the edge of a darker area, this fills in a lot better. So I'm just going to drag this. And what it's doing is it's selecting around this edge here, which is really, there's a lot of contrast between these two edges. So once I do that, I can go to Edit and then Fill. That will fill that entire area. And you notice that my blue's in the foreground. If you had a different color in the background, you could choose that as well. Select OK. You can see it did a quick job of filling the area with blue. Now to deselect it, you just select Command D. That deselects that. Now in the water, I want the water to be blue as well. So I probably can't use the selection tool because there's a lot of gray areas here that aren't really defined as an edge really well. So in that case, I could use the brush tool. You can select the brush tool. And if you click on the box here, you want to make sure that you have a hard edge. I'm using a hard round edge. That's a little easier to define the edges that I find. You can select your brush size here as well. Click OK. And you can also make this brush tool larger and smaller by the bracket keys. The left bracket will make it smaller. The right bracket key will make it larger. When I'm working in this area, there's a lot of small areas, so I probably want it really small. Want a little, whoops. I kind of lose my brush when it gets really small. I can't see it, so we can do undo until that goes away. Let me make my brush tool larger so you can see it a little bit better. So I'm just going to trace around the edges of the blue. Take some time and do some really good detail. So let's just say I fill this area, and now I want to work on the brown areas. So what I could do is make sure that I select brown, and then select the color square, and then choose a brown. That's more toward the bottom. Let's say I'm happy with this brown. And then I can select the brown and paint that in. If you have a pen tool, it works really well. It makes it a little easier drawing as opposed to using a mouse. But let's pretend that I drew all of this area in here that I want brown. And then finally I go to green. Select my green that I'm going to use. I wanted a fairly light green. Let's just say I'm happy with this. And now I can select all my green colors, green areas. Now this is, the colors are opaque, so you can't see underneath. So what I've done earlier is I've created an image where I created all the colors, and you can see that here. There's my blue. There's my brown. And there's my green. Now, you want to probably take a little bit more time. You don't want these white lines showing. If I were screen printing and I exposed these, I would have a white line of the paper because the edges don't overlap. You can slightly overlap these edges so you don't get that line. You want to take a little bit more time working on your colors. So now I have all of these colors selected. What I'm going to do is, if I were printing these colors, exposing them on the screen, what I would do is I would convert this to black, and I can show you how to do that in a little bit. But each one of these layers is going to be a separate film that we're just going to print out on the printer. On a piece of transparent film. I would print this one, and of course this would all be black, so I would convert this to black. The same with the browns. Those would be converted to black, and then I would expose it on the film, then expose it on my screen. And then of course I would mix up my colors if I were screen printing. The same with blue. So I'm going to have a total of 4 transparent films. All of these are black, and then I'm just going to pick the color that I want to print them on. And this is the key plate here, and that would be black. For the most part, I would add a little bit of another color into the black depending on whether I wanted the black to be warm or cool. But in order to get our image here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these. And first I'm going to start out with blue, and I'm going to select this box where it says normal. And I'm just going to scroll down and click multiply. Now, if you look to the right, you can see it says opacity. I can actually make this more less opaque or more opaque. So you can play around with that on each one. And then I'm going to select brown and do the same thing. Normal. I could use multiply. Darken is a bit lighter. You could use multiply. I think that works a little bit better. And then you can adjust the opacity if you like. You can make it a little lighter, a little darker. And then finally I'm going to do the green. Click on normal and then click on multiply. Again, you can control the opacity to 100% or less if you want it more transparent. So play around with that as well. I think I'd like it a little bit lighter. So now I have the image. What I'm going to do next is I've got another image here that I did. Enlarge it a bit more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, I'm going to pull this out here. And what I did is I created a new file that's 11 by 14. This would have normally been the size of our paper that we're using. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on my image here, and I'm going to click on this. If you hold the Shift key down while you're dragging the background into the new layer, it will put it in the dead center. So I want everyone, once you colorize your bitmap or halftone, I want you to lay that on a blank file so you have a nice even border like you would have in doing a screen print. So what you want to do is flatten this. And if it isn't, I think you guys have probably been working in 300 pixels or 300 ppi. What you want to do is make sure that the image is 72 pixels, so it's going to be a lot easier to send over the internet. So I typically go to image size, and then this one's already 72. I made it 72 earlier. The size is 11 by 14. The resolution is going to be 72. So we can use it on the internet. Click OK. Now to go back, I can show you how to make, let me turn these back to normal. Close this. But you can select these tools here, and I typically go to image adjustment levels. And to turn each one of these black, you would select this eyedropper that's black, and then select over the image. In this case, there's I could turn these off. Oh, the opacity, that's what got me here. So you want to make sure. Turn these off. Now I can make this black, this green area black, by going to image adjustment and going to levels. Now I could select the black eyedropper tool and then click over top of that. That makes everything black. You would do that for each one of these images, and then we would print them on film. Then we would expose each layer and then print the color through the opening of the screen. So if you guys could, I would probably like to see your image before you start working on the color. If you could send that to me, email plowmane@nku.edu. I'll comment on it a little bit, and also we want to make sure that it's a really good image to use. So do that in the meantime, and then start playing around with colors. I think it's important to choose your colors. They don't have to be true to nature. The sky could be red. You can make it very surreal. So think about your colors, and I will post some previous examples that students have done earlier. So think about color, think about using monochromatic colors, think about using analogous colors, tertiary colors. So give your color composition a bit of thought. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, feel free to send me an email.